Greetings! So in this video we're going to take a look at some of the latest and greatest up and coming games for the Oculus Quest and Oculus Quest 2. Now you might notice some games missing from this list, and that might be because I've included them in previous lists and I just don't want to repeat them here, but you can find those previous lists linked in the description below or in the card above. Now if you do like this video, I just ask that you consider giving it a thumbs up or even subscribing to the channel. Now if you think I've missed a game that would be great to feature in a future upcoming Oculus Quest video, let me know in the comment section below, as I'd love to hear your thoughts, and who knows, I might include it in the next installment of this series. So with that, let's check out the list. So the first game on our list is Jousting VR. So this is coming in the second quarter of 2022. It's coming to the Oculus Quest, but also HTC Vive and the Oculus Rift. And by the way, the footage you're seeing here is PC VR footage. Now when I first saw this game, it kind of reminded me of the retro classic Defender of the Crown. Now if you don't know what I'm talking about, don't worry about it. It probably means that you're younger than I am. So Jousting VR features physics-based gameplay. That means they're going to try to make it feel like you're holding a real lance. But not only that, you're going to be able to break and smash your opponent's armor, shield and other gear into pieces. There's also a character progression system, so you enter these nightly tournaments, and if you do well at them, you advance to the next stages. There's a character customization system where you get to choose how your character looks, but not only that, they promise various gear to choose from, so you can unlock new gear or upgrade old gear to give you an extra advantage on the battlefield. I'm not sure it's called a battlefield, but let's just stick with it. There'll also be various modes, like a challenge mode where you get to smash hanging items using your aim of the lance, as well as a PvP mode. And now I got excited about hearing this, but it might not be what you expect, because the PvP mode you get to race with other players and smash items for points. It doesn't seem, at least from what I'm seeing on Steam, that you can actually verse each other, like fight each other in a duel. Yeah, so I really hope I'm wrong about that, and they do plan to add a mode where you get to duel each other face to face, because that will make this game a lot more appealing to me. Now, if I had to list the top 3 games that I've seen people want in the official Quest store, it would have to be Minecraft, Boneworks and Blade and Sorcery. Now what you're seeing here is PC VR footage of Blade and Sorcery, and it looks like we might see Blade and Sorcery ported to the Oculus Quest 2. So if it is released, it will be an Oculus Quest 2 exclusive. So we don't yet have 100% confirmation that it's being ported to the Quest 2, but developers have said they are looking into it, which is enough for me to get a little bit excited at least, even though if it does get ported, it might be a while before we see this one arrive on the Quest. So for anyone who doesn't know, Blade and Sorcery is a medieval fantasy sandbox game that focuses on melee, ranged and magic combat using a realistic physics-driven interaction combat system. So if you like acting like a complete psycho and ripping body parts off in games like Gorn, or impaling gladiators on Wolverine claws in games like Gladius, then you're probably going to love this one. So I'll be keeping an eye on this one, waiting to hear for that 100% confirmation that we're going to see it on Quest 2. But if it does come, and I'm hoping it will, I think it will be a while before we actually see it released. Next up is Swordsman VR. Now this game is set to release on the Oculus Quest in early 2022, and it won't be releasing in the official Oculus Quest store, at least initially. It's going to be an App Lab release at first. It's a physics-driven combat game, much like Blade and Sorcery, although I think it's meant to be a bit more realistic in terms of the combat. Some of the features include a campaign and arena mode, as well as a zombie horde mode, as well as a different variety of weapons and shields, and enemies too, like knights, Vikings, Mongols, samurais and even pirates. It also has a bit of an RPG element and promises lots of stats and skills that you can upgrade. So this game is already out on PC and PSVR, and it's received a bit of a mixed reception. It definitely hasn't been as well received as Blade and Sorcery, and I think one of the issues from what I can tell of the reviews is that the physics aren't as great and the hit detection can be a bit hit and miss, excuse the pun. So in short, the combat doesn't sound as fun as Blade and Sorcery, but we'll wait and see when this one comes out in App Lab. Who knows, they might update it and fix a lot of those issues, because it certainly looks like it has potential. Now take a look at this. This is OUTLIER. This is an adventure roguelite VR game featuring both first-person shooter and RPG elements. Now it's coming to the Oculus Quest sometime 2022, but it's also coming to the Vive, the Oculus Rift and the Valve Index. So far we have a bit of the backstory of this game. You're the captain of one of the last human arks and you're in search of a new home for humanity. Your vessel gets sucked into a black hole, and this black hole somehow gives you unknown mysterious powers that allows you to exist in parallel worlds. And your goal basically is to conquer at least one of these worlds in the name of mankind. So this game features procedurally generated levels. That means each game you have is going to be a brand new experience. You'll meet different characters, experience new artifacts, weapons and story pieces. Now just like other roguelike games, your unique abilities actually build each time you play. The devs also say that the enemies are going to be quite realistic and aggressively attack the player using both long range and close range weaponry. Now the developers Joyway have a pretty decent track record. For example, they've released Stride on the Oculus Quest, and Stride is a good action orientated VR game. So I'm expecting this is probably going to be pretty good. Now it does remind me of another game coming soon as well, Hellsweeper, which will be coming to Oculus Quest and other platforms. One of my concerns is, it looks a bit intense, so if you do suffer from VR motion sickness, I wonder how comfortable it is going to be to play. But Joyway do say that they have some tricks to minimise motion sickness. For example, in the game you need to swing your hands to dash, and dashes make up the lion's share of movement in this game, so it might be more comfortable than it looks. And as of yet, they cannot actually say if it's going to be an Oculus Quest 2 exclusive or be available on both the original Quest and the Quest 2, so we'll just have to wait for those details. So our next game has received some controversy recently. So this is the Resident Evil 4 remake. Resident Evil 4 is arguably one of the best Resident Evil games ever made, and it's coming out on the Oculus Quest 2 exclusively on October 21st. Now before we get to the controversy, for anyone who doesn't know, Resident Evil 4 takes a bit of a departure from previous games in the series, and it's more of an action-oriented horror game where you have to face off against inhabitants of a rural village who have been infected with this mind-controlling parasite and abducted the president's daughter, who you have to save. It's a fairly chunky game at about 11.5 gigabytes, and the trailers are looking pretty awesome. It's definitely one of the most anticipated Quest games this year. Now the controversy is that recently Capcom were pressured by Facebook to remove some of the original dialogue because it was apparently deemed misogynistic. Now this dialogue happens between Leon, the main character, and his radio support Ingrid. So instead of the original dialogue where it can get a bit flirtatious, for example at one point I think he asks for her phone number, now it's reported that there's just this radio static and oddly stilted dialogue where the original dialogue has been censored by Facebook. Now for me personally, it's not going to have a big effect on the gameplay, and so it doesn't really bother me too much, although I find it strange that you kill people throughout the game but then some flirtatious dialogue is seen as so bad that it needs to be censored. But that's just my thoughts. Have a look at one of the original cutscenes for yourself, and remember this cutscene comes right at the end of the game when they've got to know each other and built quite a lot of rapport.
You know you're kind of cute without those glasses. Give me your number when I get back.
May I remind you that you're still on duty?
Story of my life.
So assuming you care, what do you think? Do you think this is a good move by Facebook? Do you think they have the right to do this? Or do you think this is an overreach? And are you concerned about them doing this for future games? Let me know in the comment section below. Either way, Resident Evil 4 is looking awesome, and I really can't wait for this one to drop. Now if you thought Resident Evil 4 was on the larger side, wait till you see our next game. This is Medal of Honor Above and Beyond for the Oculus Quest 2. Now this is said to be about 45 gigabytes in size, so if you have a 64 gigabyte Oculus Quest 2, then you're probably not going to be able to install much else once you have this puppy on there. So Medal of Honor Above and Beyond is a World War II shooter that was originally meant to be a PC VR exclusive, but now the single player campaign and multiplayer modes are getting carefully reworked to fit and run on the Oculus Quest 2. So this is exciting because this is a AAA game, but at the same time it did receive a mixed reception when it was released in 2021 on the Oculus Rift and Steam VR. On the plus side, it had a beefy and varied 10+ hour campaign, but on the other hand, some of the negatives included the fact that the campaign was broken into small sections with long loading times in between, and the story was just chopped up too much that it kind of affected the narrative. But it definitely has potential, and if they fix up these issues for the Quest 2 version, we might be looking at one of the best shooters on the Quest. Our next game is Warhammer Age of Sigmar Tempestfall. Now, I do love a good Warhammer game. I just love the whole package, the weapons, the armies, the lore and the universe that it takes place in. And so this is the latest trailer from Carbon Studio showing Tempestfall on PC VR. But it is also coming to the Quest in the 4th quarter of 2021. And so I have featured this game in previous videos, but for anyone who doesn't know, this is an action-adventure game set in the Warhammer Age of Sigmar universe. You get to play as a Lord Arcanum, so you get to wield storm magic as well as some really awesome weapons in your fight against these undead creatures called Nighthaunt. Now, I'm lucky enough to be getting a Steam key about 2 weeks before this game is released, so I will be doing a video on it, but the second closed beta has just been announced, so if you want to try and join that and maybe play a bit sooner yourself via PC VR, you can try that there. There's also a contest going on right at the moment where you can win yourself an Oculus Quest 2 and other goodies, so that's on the webpage and I'll link that in the description below if you're interested. Now, our next game is Ancient Dungeon. So I've covered this one before, so I won't spend too long on it, but this is coming as early access on the App Lab and Steam VR November 3rd. So you can wishlist it now on both platforms. So it's no big secret that I'm not a huge fan of these chunky voxel-like graphics, and if you're the same, just don't let it turn you off, because this is a fantastic game. It's a roguelike dungeon crawler with procedurally generated dungeons full of loot, lethal traps, hidden secrets, and of course monsters. Now, there's so many elements to this game that make it fun to play, but one of the highlights for me is definitely the combat. It has some RPG elements like damage stats for the different weapons, but it's also very physics based too. It means if I swing and hit a monster, it actually reacts to my blow. You can also do things like chop off heads, smash pots, break crates, just a lot of fun. And like other roguelikes, some items and skills that you get during one run of the game stay with you until your next run, making your character a bit more powerful each time you play. Later this year, we also have After the Fall coming to PC VR, PSVR and Oculus Quest 2. There will be an Oculus Quest 1 release, but that will come in 2022. So this is another highly anticipated game. It promises up to 4-player co-op action, where you and your teammates have to work together to survive hordes of snowbreed, which are essentially zombies. And what you're seeing here is PC VR footage. I haven't seen Quest 2 footage as of yet, but interesting to see that, to see how different it looks. But I don't doubt we'll be seeing more gameplay footage and details released fairly soon, as the game is getting quite close to launch. Now, if you think this game looks quite similar to the 4-player co-op shooter Left 4 Dead, then you're probably not that far wrong. It has many similarities, including these big boss-like characters that come along every now and then that are tougher and more deadly than your average snowbreed. Now, this one was meant to be coming this summer, but it was delayed till later this year so they can make some improvements before release, which is completely fine with me because I have high expectations for this one. Now, this next game, Unplugged Air Guitar, I've actually muted the original video that you're seeing here and added my own rock soundtrack because there's so many potential copyright issues, of course, with some of the soundtracks they've included on the trailer. But Unplugged lets you rock out to some of the biggest rock bands on the planet. So here's the lineup of rock bands that are going to be featured in the game upon its release. Looks like a pretty decent lineup, some pretty big bands. There are some songs on here that I probably wouldn't have chosen myself, but overall there's quite a few good songs on here right out of the gate. They're also running a competition to win a Quest 2 over on their Twitter page if you're interested. So what you need to do is you select from a selection of virtual guitars and amps and power yourself through an incredible rock journey. Gameplay involves matching your fingers to the chords and strumming the strings at the right time. pretty much like Guitar Hero, except this relies on finger tracking. So that was one of my major concerns, because finger tracking, if you've ever used it on the Oculus Quest, it can be a bit unreliable at the best of times. But I did see a gameplay video by Gamertag VR where he said the finger tracking was surprisingly very good. It did take a bit of skill to get the fingering right, but after a bit of practice, he said it felt really good. So I'm hopeful the hand and finger tracking is actually going to work quite well for this game. Unplugged is coming to Oculus Quest and Steam VR platforms October 21st.
That last riff was so epic that I shit my pants. A little bit.
So are there any up and coming games in that list, or maybe not in that list, that you're really excited for? Let me know in the comment section below. As always, thank you for watching, and I'll catch you in the next video.